God has such a sense of humor. Have you ever found that? Yeah? Because obviously I had something in mind when I was letting my talk move through me this week. And that will be part of what we'll talk about. And then I learn about the experience that happened at the center this week. So now the center has a story, right? And the center's story could be, we were burglarized. Oh my God. Everybody just take a nice deep breath. And that the idea, right, of being burglarized can lead to all kinds of feelings, whether it's our personal space or our spiritual space, which what gets more personal than that, right? That can lead to all kinds of feelings. And then Lynn gets up here and she shares the information with us, and she said, and this good thing happened, 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 and this good thing happened. Which is a whole different story following the words, we had a burglary. It's a whole different paradigm. Yes? As we explore this morning what our story has been, what we would like our story to be, how willing we are to tell a new story, let's keep in the back of our minds what transpired here at the center. Because you could not have more immediate evidence for how there can be a worst case scenario, because we can all go there, right? We can all go there. Or a best case scenario. For the school to not only be able to replace, but upgrade everything that they lost. I call that a best case scenario, don't you? Okay. So here's the real point. We are talking about the school. We aren't talking about the High Desert Center for Spiritual Living. We're talking about us. We're talking about how our story, what it's been up until now, what it is that we choose to make it today, what it is that we choose to make it tomorrow, what we're going to bring to it the next day, how we can upgrade. Isn't it lovely how this experience gave me all that? But that's what life does when we're paying attention. Because every moment we have a choice. Back in the day, which wasn't that long ago, there was the glass half empty, half full business, right? So we were identified by being half fullers or half emptiers. We were identified by whether or not we were pessimists or optimists, right? And this teaching is about being, could I have a little more energy? Thank you. Are you sure that this teaching is about being optimists? Is this teaching about being Pollyanna? Very good. This teaching is about looking at the opportunity in every moment, the invitation in every moment, and making a conscious choice. If the story we want is the story we may have been telling up until now about the same old, about them, and them being the reason why things aren't different or can't be different, about us and how we're not this and we're not that, or we're to this or we're to that, and things cannot be different. If that's the story that we want to continue to tell, that can be our story. And there is nothing that will stand in the way of that. And that's exactly how life will show up, as a perfect reflection of that story. On the other hand, if there is another story that we are excited to tell, that we are excited to be living, that we are excited to have life reflect back to us, we better start telling it. Because I'll tell you, the show me first thing doesn't work. Show me the reason to believe that my life will be different and then I'll believe it. That's not how it works. Well, it does work that way, sort of. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that we are surrounded by evidence that life supports itself lavishly, luxuriously, exquisitely, generously. We're surrounded by that evidence. You know the lilies of the field business? That's evidence. That's evidence. All of the things that unfold in nature is evidence that there is an energy that is larger than any of us or all of us together. There is a life force, there is an intelligence that provides and provides and provides and provides and provides, because what is it providing for? Say it a little louder, please. Itself. Because there's only one. And this isn't just Centers for Spiritual Living gospel. That isn't how Centers for Spiritual Living began. Ernest Holmes studied and studied and studied and worked with and studied and explored and went, oh, I see all this commonality. Let me look deeper. I mean, I'm modifying the story a little bit, but this is really how it happened. Oh, and there's this thread, and it looks just like this thread, and it looks just like this thread, and it looks just like this thread. All of the great teachings, all of the ancient works, all of the highest minds that had ever been, he explored like a 3-year-old looking at a bug. He looked at it like, wow, what is this? And what are they saying? And how does it relate to other things? And what he found was there's only one. And do you know what science is saying today? There's only one. And do you know what science is? Those people who are saying there's only one, oh, we have proved it beyond any doubt that there's only one. Do you know who they are? They're us in science outfits. Just like us. With lives like us, with upbringings like us, with world experience like us, who have developed a skill set that some of us aren't even interested in. Not better, not more, not less, not other, like us. And this authority the us of them, oh, that was good. That was really good. Thank you. Is saying, well, this is how it is. There's only one. And we could all be here and say, well, yeah, we could have told you that. We could have saved you all this research and conversation and trying to prove that that wasn't true. We could have saved you all that, but you had to get to it on your own. Do we care? No, because we all get to it on our own. We all get to it on our own. And where we are in our relationship with the divine, where we are in our relationship with our greatest self right now is where we are. And it's perfect. Where I am is perfect for me. Where every single one of us is, whoever is in this room, whoever is touched by any life that is experiencing this talk, no matter how, every single one of us is in our perfect place in our relationship to that. Do you know how I know that? Because we're the ones who are having the experience. And when we're ready for a different experience, then we are willing to open our perspective and perception to include something beyond what we know now. That's how we learn anything. That's how we learn to walk. That's how we learn to ride a bike, if we ever did. That's how we learn to drive a car, if we ever did. That's how we learn anything. Is our perspective and our perception opens, even if it's just the tiniest bit, beyond where it is right now. And then newness can get in through the space that has been created between what we know and the unknown. That could be our new story. That could be our new story. Just imagine with me for a minute. I know nobody's going to slow down enough to do this, but just imagine it. We're all in a safe space. Everybody breathe. Just know I'm just asking you to experiment in this very moment. You do not have to do this at home, although you can. So just imagine with me that before you is a choice that may already be on your plate. Something that is already a decision that has shown up, that's something that you're entertaining, that you're considering. It could be whether or not to buy opera tickets. It could be whether or not to start an exercise program. Oh, did I say that 6-letter word out loud? I think it's more than 6. It's something, 8. Anyway, it could be any decision. It doesn't matter. We're just experimenting, okay? And let's say that for the purpose of this experiment, that our new story is, right in this moment, that I invest the time and attention to make the highest choice I can every moment. That's my new story. I invest the time and attention to make the highest choice I can in every moment. So just feel into that for a minute and breathe into it. And the very first thing that comes to mind, the very first thing that shows up in your experience is intuition. Because all of the chatter that normally shows up about why it shouldn't happen or why you can't do it or why you shouldn't do it or why whatever, that is not automatic. When we're still like that, the first thing that shoots through is intuition. And then the argument starts. Then the chatter starts. Then the conversation, the internal conversation about, well, why, and are you sure, and what makes you sure, and all that stuff, that follows. You know, many of us feel that if we only knew, if we only could really hear guidance, we would follow it. Anybody? If we could clearly hear guidance, we would follow it? You just did. You just did. It's the very first thing that shows up. Now, the great thing about guidance is it doesn't shut up. But the other chatter gets so loud and so distracting that we can't hear it anymore. You know, the whole still small voice thing? There's nothing still or small about it. We need to get still in order to hear it. We need to be small like little children, open, fascinated, enthralled, available. Guidance is 24/7. You just have to trust me on this one. It's 24/7. Our availability to it is what makes it feel like we don't know what it is. We can't hear it. We can't, if we only knew. There's nobody that knows more than you do about what is the highest choice for your life. Now, that's part of the story. Because if the story we tell ourselves is, I don't know, guess what happens? We don't know. If the story we tell ourselves is, I can't make a decision, I can't figure it out, I just can't feel sure. Guess what happens? You can't make a decision, you can't figure it out, and you can't be sure. Isn't that just the coolest? That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yuck. That's not what I have in mind as a self-fulfilling prophecy. How about you? If you're going to prophesize for your life, which is to what? Tell a story. To prophesize about your life is to tell a story. And a prophecy is typically about when? The future. What do we know about tomorrow? What do we know about tomorrow? And tomorrow never comes because it's always today. When tomorrow gets here, it's today. So the prophecy that we are really telling is about when. So what do you want your story to be? It's not that I'm not interested in your story. I hold your story in the chalice of my heart, whatever it is. And right in there with it is your new story. Because the new story is as alive in you as the old story. It just hasn't been fed. It hasn't been exposed to light. The curtains have not been pulled away yet. What is your new story? What do you want it to be? It's already alive in you. We are that one life, that one power, that one love, that one joy, that one peace, that one presence, that pattern of perfection that is all things. And so it cannot be any other way. So what in the world are we waiting for? Because the old story, I can't remember which of my great teachers it was, but they used this expression, and I thought, oh man, that's really good. We can argue for our limitations. Ew. But we do that in our stories. I can't because... And we already talked about yeah, buts. You remember the Sunday that we talked about yeah, buts. They're right there in the story. Someone will say to us, someone will offer us something lovely, and we'll say, yeah, but that's an old story. That's arguing for our limitations. That is making excuses for why we cannot receive our good. Yikes! That for sure is not what we mean. Or is it? Anybody want that to change? Yes. Anybody willing to change it? Yes. Well, I already showed you how. Get quiet. Ask the question. Take a couple of conscious breaths. I highly recommend at least 3. You're breathing anyway. Take 3 nice deep breaths. And the first thing that pops up. Because from that place you can hear it. And nothing else is in the way yet. And all that gets in the way is all of the argument for sameness that shows up in us, that shows up in our thinking. It bubbles up from our subconscious. All of the argument for sameness. Ew. We don't want sameness. And that's not the same thing as saying safety or comfort or ease. We want all that, right? We want it all the time. We want peace of mind and heart. We absolutely want safety. We want ease. We want comfort. But that's not sameness, my friends. That is not sameness. Because do you have comfort and ease and peace of mind and heart 24/7 right now? I saw some nods rather than this. So for those of you who have it, help those that don't get it. Because that is your gift. I'm not telling you or suggesting to you that you tell them how to do it, because that's my job. What I am suggesting is to be a living example of life as that. Dressing up and showing up and being that every day, everywhere, all the time. Even in the face of shocking news, unhappy news, unsettling news. Do we still have sadness? Do we still have anger show up? Do we still have the full spectrum of feelings run through us? Of course, because we're all human. But that's part of the palette. That's part of the tapestry. That isn't a diminishment of the truth of who we are. Because how we respond or react, guess which one's better? Very good. How we respond to those feelings, how we respond to the phooey. Very good, phooey. How we respond to the phooey, the upset, the shock, whatever the experience is, how we respond to that is what says more about us than any words we could ever say when someone asks us how we are, who we are, or what we do. How we show up says more about us than any of our stories. So I invite you as your homework this week to be looking for ways to show up as a new story. To, as I said the last time I was here, and I will say it again and again because it cannot be said too often, to use the words about yourself and others and the world. I know sometimes it's challenging to do that, all of those things, that align with the new story. Might it take an extra moment? Might it take an extra thought? Might it take an extra breath? Might it take intentionality? Might it take courage? Might it take everything you've got? Absolutely. Is it an investment worth making? It's your life. You get to decide. Is your life the investment worth making? You get to decide. But I'm putting all my money on you. I have something to leave you with. So there is a class that Denise and I, many of you know Denise, she couldn't be here today, but she sends you all her love. There's a class that Denise and I are teaching right now called Prosper Now. And this is a prayer that all of us do together in class at the end of class, and then all of the students do it every day on their own. I accept that Spirit is the source of all supply, and that money is just one of the ways that source shows up in action. I believe that all kinds of good are now flowing to me so richly and so fully that I have an abundance to spare and share today and always. I believe that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, perfect happiness, perfect relationship, and peace of mind. This word, which I speak in faith, activates a law of universal good. I accept and share the results. I bless all the good that is with me now. I bless the increase. I bless all in our community and our families, and claim now that we prosper in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is, and so I let it be.